Get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball, and we are back and better than ever. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, look at all the folks that we've got queued up and ready to go. So wonderful that you could join us. Last week, let's do a quick roundup. Daniel Taylor published free Azure SQL Managed Instance preview. And then on Tuesday, we had our Azure Data Community Roundtable. And then on Wednesday, I followed up with Microsoft Fabric Import On-Premise SQL Server 2022 data into Microsoft Fabric using Data Factory. And then on Monday, Daniel Tiller and I were back again with how to read data from Azure Data Lake Storage using Managed Instance with data virtualization. So much to do, so much to see. You don't want to miss a thing. If this is your first time finding your way over here on Tales from the Field, give us a like and give us a subscribe. We drop content every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Monday and Wednesday, we have our MS Tech Bits, and that means today is Tuesday, and it is the Azure Data Community Roundtable, your roundtable, the roundtable for the community by the community. If you want to interact with the show, it is so easy to do so. How do you do that? Well, you just make a comment on our YouTube stream where we are streaming out of the home for Tales from the Field, and one of my amazing co-hosts will see that and they will add it to the stream. And before we go any further, eventually, I'm guessing that he's stuck in a reboot right now. We will have Mr. Andreas Padilla. He's getting there. Hey, there's our good friend Ginger Grant. Ginger, it's great to see you this week. I'm also joined by the mountain man himself, Mr. Daniel Taylor, the man in the hat, and it's a nice sporty hat that he's got on today, Mr. Josh Luedeman. And then, sorry, I lost my place because I forgot to delete something.
And
you don't.
Padilla will be joining us when, whatever reboot and
technical issue. He was here right up until the second that we went live. But hold on a second. I've got one more person that I need to introduce. When it comes to perfection, you don't want to change a thing. And of course, you know who I'm talking about. Your friend of mine, Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri, and Andreas is back with us. Hey, Andreas, good to see you, buddy. So this is the Azure Data Community Roundtable, and we've got a quick call to action, some things we want you to do. The first off is we want you to join this great and brilliant community. And if you're doing so, then you need to head over to the Azure Data Community on the Microsoft webpage, find a user group near you. So that way you can participate and be a part of those user groups. We have so many of them that are live and in person. And then also there are virtual user groups. There are newsletters. There's information about the community events going on. Well, and of course, after you join the community, what do we want you to do? We want you to know about some of those community events. So we want you to head over to SQLSaturday.com. You can see coming up on the 27th of January, we've got SQL Saturday Guatemala. And then there's a couple that we're eyeing. Dan and myself have submitted to SQL Saturday Atlanta on April the 20th. And of course, the whole Tales from the Field team is eyeing Jacksonville on May the 4th. We're hoping to be there with you. After you head over to SQL Saturday and you find some local community to be able to participate with, where else do we want you to go? Well, we want you to head over to Data Saturday. Data Saturday is often the place where you're going to go find great virtual events that are happening within the community for you for free. And we want you to be a part of that. And there's one other place we want to make you to go. If you are a fabricator like I am, well, then we definitely want you to head over to our LinkedIn group where we've got the Microsoft Fabric Learning Group. We're there. The product group is there. And if you are a blogger or a creator, I want to encourage you to participate in this. As a matter of fact, two of the pieces of content that I pulled for this week's roundtable came straight from our learning group. As you can see, we've got 1,864 members. We are active and there's a lot going on there. Go over, jump in. It is a wonderful place to ask your questions or look at your content. One other thing, and this is for all the fabricators out there, don't forget at the end of this month, Tuesday, January the 30th, from 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we have our monthly Microsoft Fabric roundup, the kind of the wrap up that we have of the month of Fabric announcements. Now, the announcements happen in December, and We're going to recap some of those. There weren't announcements in January. They had previously said the team was going to take the month off from announcements in January, but we have a jam-packed show for you. Now, we will have Bradley Schatt from the Microsoft Fabric Cat team there with us per usual. I will be there. Neeraj Jhaveri will be there. But on top of that, we're going to have Ree Merritt, who runs the Microsoft Fabric community, on talking about the community and maybe a little bit about the new certification that we've dropped and some of the wonderful things we're doing around that certification to help you, the community. Also, we're going to have my tag team partner from SQL Bits and the Microsoft Fabric Conference out in Las Vegas in March, Mark Price Mayer. He's going to join us, and we're going to talk about that pre-con, a little bit about why you should go, and some of the content that you're going to see there. But wait, there's more. We're also going to have two wonderful members of the product groups. Carlos Robos and Idris Matawala are going to join us, and they are going to have a very special demo on some stuff that they are working on that is very exciting. I can't wait to see it, and I know you're going to want to see it. It will be recorded. It will be on our channel, so you want to make sure and check that out. Now, before we get going, one thing to keep in mind, all of the content that we have is already in the description of the video. So as we take off and begin our roundtable, if you're looking for content, we've already got it down there. Please make sure and go and support our communities and the amazing creators by checking out the blogs and the videos that we have selected. Whew, that was a lot. Andreas, how was your weekend, buddy?
I'm car hunting.
Ooh.
I got to go. My lease is up. So, I got to talk to you guys. I don't know,
Josh has got a fancy new car for his wife. He might have some things to say.
Yeah. My wife went out there and got a fancy, nice, one of the new Mercedes EQSs. So they're SUV electric. So I was trying, she really wanted in a smaller SUV. I really wanted her to do electric because she commutes quite regularly. So she calls it our compromise. She got her SUV. I got her into electric, and that's how that landed. But it's a nice vehicle. Glad to talk to you about it.
I was going to say, y'all have been super big.
Yeah, I want to find a middle ground, pimp my ride, and take the kids to school.
Yeah, I'm waving at Ginger real quick. Yeah, I was going to say, Josh will definitely be able to help you pimp your ride. You guys are very busy in the comments. I love it. I was at 1,800 and growing, Dan. Yeah. I was going to say, there's so many wonderful things going on. Okay, let's dive straight into it. The people are here for content. Let's give them some content. And of course, first up, I was looking at this, and this definitely piqued my interest. And of course it did. This is from an interesting man. And you know who I'm talking about, the one, the only, Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri. Neeraj continuing to advance the state-of-the-art models, the state-of-the-art model is and tooling support in Azure AI Studio. What do we got here?
So Azure AI Studio was introduced in Ignite as a public preview, and what John is showing up is, like, as they are keeping on growing and growing, new things are getting added up to the Azure AI Studio. What now we have is models as a service for Llama 2. We also have GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, GPT 3.5 Turbo, and other models are now available. It is expanding every day as you go. What AI Studio brings into the quality is your way to do graphically. If you don't know the codes and all the stuff, you can still do all this stuff using the Open AI Studio, which is definitely something that you would be interested to go on it. There's a video that shows you how to use model as a service. Very nicely done video, so something that you can watch on it. And then he shows you all the different types of models that are available to play around with it. It's growing every day. It's not like it's stuck, so it's growing every day. So definitely something you can look out for it.
Excellent. Excellent. I love it. Well, and speaking of something I love, I had a customer who asked a question specifically. They had a bit of an error where they ran into something with an Azure SQL database where it said that the query store was not set up and properly configured. That can happen when the query store is full on Azure SQL database. So I showed them how to check that, how to check for the size. But then I realized they had never really looked at what the query store was. And so I went over to Deepthi Guri's blog over at DBA Nuggets, and she had a wonderful blog, Query Store Fundamentals. Did you know? Not just Query Store Fundamentals, but also she goes through a couple things that specifically apply to on-prem, also to Azure SQL Database, but also a number of resource links as well. I'm not going to summarize this blog. It's a wonderful thing. If you are not familiar with Query Store and you don't know the difference between circles, squares, and triangles, which actually are pretty important to be able to understand, you need to go read this blog, because the fact is you have a free data flight recorder sitting there in every single Azure SQL server, every Azure SQL Managed instance. And you want to make sure that you understand. The customer was just blown away to understand the telemetrics, the query information that they could dive into to be able to look at their system and their health and find their top consuming queries and targets to be able to tune. All of that is in the Query Store. It was a labor of love for Connor Cunningham to the community, and I'm so thankful we've got it. It's free as a part of every single SQL. When you're working with SQL, you get the Query Store involved. So you want to make sure you have the Query Store there and you have it set up and you're able to use it. I just thought that was absolutely wonderful. Speaking of wonderful, I saw the headline for this next blog, and I remember when this announcement came out, and I was so happy to hear it, because it's such an improvement over what we got when it was initially released. But of course, I'm talking about Daniel Taylor with canceling data flow Gen 2 refresh using the Power BI REST client in Semantic Leak v5.0. Dan, what do we got here?
So another great little short, speaking of nuggets, nugget here by our friend Sandeep Power BI, goes through here in the article, and what would you expect Sandeep to use? Nothing but Power BI REST client to find an interesting little hack on how we can cancel our data flu. Flu's going around.
I was going to say, do we have a thing to say that Dan's tongue has got to catch up with his mind? Across the bottom?
Flow Gen 2.
There we go.
To cancel it. Provides a great dump here of how you can do this in a notebook. Most of it's error checking. Goes through with some great examples below that, so you can take it out of this full piece of code that he provides us and do get the data flow transaction and then cancel the data flow outside of all that error checking. And then, he shows us how to do that. Great little article. Really enjoyed it. I love those little nuggets. And by the way, I can't tell you how many times Query Store has made for successful migrations for me. So I love the article that you just did as well, Brad. That was
I was going to say, and I love Sandeep. He is my favorite Twitter handle, Power BI. Yeah. I was going to say, I know something about using your last name to be able to help build a brand. And he has done just a beautiful and masterful job with that. I was going to say, every time I see it, I was happy to see him in the list. And speaking of something, I got to tell you, I was fascinated to take a look at this title and then read this, because it just captures so many different cutting edge things. And of course, it's from a cutting edge, super sharp, super smart person. You know who I'm talking about, Mr. Andreas Padilla. Andreas, we've got powerful personal branding prompts. That's a great triple P, right? Peter Piper. Anyway, using ChatGPT to build an influential online presence. What do we got going on here?
Jody Cook, make everybody say that 5 times fast as you can. Didn't you guys mention personal branding, building branding 2 seconds ago with Dan's great article? This taps into that, sort of same line. Jody Cook puts out there why you should work to build your personal brand and how you can leverage ChatGPT to do it. She gives you great prompts where to start, how to build your, defining your personal brand, establish what you should do to establish an online presence, where you can find people that would actually want to, take advantage of your brand and what you deliver. This is something that I think all of us should engage in, and get that flow, get that machinery up and running, and making sure that you're always working on your brand. There's everybody here in this room and out there in the in the intrawebs has something to offer, and that special something is you need to highlight to the rest of the world.
Fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, I love that. It's a good check. That's something we're doing with this channel, right? So I'm going to be reading through that later and making sure that I'm just checking all the boxes and I'm not missing anything. It's important to understand as you're building that brand professionally, that's part of that career growth. I remember when I first got on Twitter, that's where all the SQL MVPs were. And it was very important because it felt like being included in a conversation that I was just standing there and against the wall, but I could see all these amazing people having conversations with people within the product group. And it felt like I was on the inside of something. So part of that is finding that community and being able to participate in it and talking about great resources. Of course, when I saw this, I thought, what an amazing thing. I absolutely needed this to look at from a brilliant individual. And this time, I'm talking about Mr. Josh Luedeman, the man in the hat. What are some good generative AI prompt engineering resources?
I was going to say, it took you long enough to come to my direction here. I'm just sitting over here, just twiddling my thumbs.
I gotta let the suspense build. You're kind of a big deal around here,
Get to the article, Luedeman. Get to the article.
So no, this one I was actually it came across my desk as just an article when I was looking for basically writing better prompts, right? So for me, and y'all have been kind of through my hectic brainstorming sessions many a time. I immediately just start going out for a bunch of stuff to go, how can I learn this, quickly? And what I found is this great post from Code with Dan. He goes through Microsoft resources, OpenAI resources, open source repos on GitHub around basically writing good prompts, or prompt engineering, as it's kind of been come to be called as an engineering discipline. But he goes through a lot of great stuff here, just basic documentation in the first half. Bottom half are all great examples and tutorials, which for me, documentation's good when I'm in a pinch to get me running, give me hands-on tutorials, give me guides, give me examples, and I'm good to go. So for me, this was just a great post to kind of bring all that good stuff together. Again, hands-on tutorials, learn walkthroughs, documentation, all the goodies.
Excellent. Speaking of goodies, I just realized I think I'm missing something from Neeraj. Hold on one second. Somehow I missed this because we were about to go over to what mine was, but of course I want to make sure I get the good stuff, and the good stuff comes from my good friend over there sitting in New Jersey, Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri. And so Neeraj, tell me about empowering Azure Video Indexer insights with your own models. And I think Neeraj is on mute, or is it?
I'm talking on mute.
There we go.
Oh, finally, Josh. Anyway.
Finally, the mute has come back to Neeraj.
So this is one for Andreas. I know you are working on your AI in the box with your video indexer. So it's something that came up by Unit Hoffman. The way it shows is that you can bring your own models in your video indexer, and it goes by step. He's giving a high flow diagram how you can do that up, which is something very interesting. I gave it to one of my customers. He was very happy that he can do this part of it. And then he goes step by step saying, this is what you need to do, how to do it, bring it up in there. So something that definitely would help you build this whole window indexer using your bring my own model into it.
Very nice stuff. Excellent. And so speaking of very nice, I of course have Data Mozart, our good friend, Mr. Sorry, I lost my place, Mr. Nikolai Ilyek. And this is incredibly reticent because Nikolai is talking about mastering the DP 500, DP 600 exam, troubleshooting DAX performance with DAX Studio. Now, why is this very important? Well, the Fabric certifications, there's a Fabric certification announced in beta, and this is one of our certifications that we're looking at specifically. So if you're looking at how do you level up your career with certifications, and remember, they're very important for different industries. Sometimes they help give you a leg up when you're moving into a new job area as well. There may be many different reasons that you want to go get a certification, and this is a very, very interesting one. I love it that he goes through here and he talks about the table of contents. It's not a deep dive about DAX, but he's going to specifically talk about how you run Performance Analyzer, copy the DAX and Performance Analyzer, and then we troubleshoot the DAX in DAX Studio. understanding what to troubleshoot, understanding how to be able to do it. For those that are not familiar with it, utilizing DAX and Power BI models sometimes needs to be troubleshot, so that way you can get better performance just like we do in SQL Server with queries. And so this translates very well to the skill set. And I love it that he's got some specific examples that you can look at, that you can see how he works through the process. These are skills that you're going to need for that certification. And so if this is something that you're looking for, this is a resource you're trying to get, Nikolai has got your set up and ready to go. Now, this is another great one. And when I saw this, I immediately went, how wonderful. I really hope our good friend Ginger is going to be on the call today, because I couldn't wait to see this, because our good buddy Dan Taylor has Fabric features not found in Power BI or Synapse Direct Lake. And this is a wonderful thing to point out some of the new functionality and features that we get that's so powerful in Microsoft Fabric from our good buddy Ginger Grant over at Desert Isle SQL. Dan, tell me what we got here.
So first off, if you've ever seen Ginger present, if you've ever had the opportunity, she's wonderful. If you hadn't, I recommend. She's going to be at a lot of upcoming events. I believe she's even over at SQL Bits. So go see her in person. Ginger's one of those incredibly wonderful people and incredibly smart that she amazes me every time she shares knowledge with me, and it's awesome. So what Ginger goes through here is the features not found in Power BI or Synapse directly, but she takes us through a story. First, she takes us through Power BI direct query, and then, you know, how direct query can be slow because you're going directly to the data and it could take time. And then she morphs the story into using Direct Lake. So Ginger takes us through the Direct Lake performance, then how can we implement Direct Lake to take advantage of that performance. Then she talks about something that some of us are working on right now, with some of the preview features with mirroring, and which is a wonderful feature, and you all need to look forward to that when that gets out there to preview. And then the best part of this is some of the current limitations around using Direct Lake, and where it's one of the things. First off, you can't create a Direct Lake connection with Power BI Desktop, and so on and so forth. Definitely a recommended read if you're a big Power BI user, which I don't use a lot, which is why I love Ginger's articles, because I get to learn through one of the experts and not have to take the time out of my day to be able to figure it out myself.
So I want to say hey to our good buddy Steve Wake. Steve, it's been way too long since I got to see you in person. I hope you're doing great, my friend. Really good news. Ginger says that she's going to be at the Fabric Conference in Vegas, which is exciting because Steve's going to be there as well. I'm going to be there for the PostCon with Mark, that we're going to be doing, and I'm very, very excited. It will be wonderful to see you both. I'm also excited to see that this is going to be part of an ongoing series. Ginger is actively working on the next one, so make sure you go check out this wonderful content. Again, the links are in the description of the video, but also, Dan, we'll have to keep our eye peeled for the next one. I am very excited for this. Speaking of things that I was excited for, of course, I see anything from this man and I'm immediately excited. He is the Sultan of Slam. And you know who I'm talking about, Mr. Andreas Padilla, with how to train coding LLMs with small auto-generate data sets. Andreas, what do we got here?
First of all, let's tap into what Ben Dixon, if you guys follow Ben Dixon, I'm following him on LinkedIn. All of you out there should follow him. Go to bdtechtalks.com. He's got a great website of a ton of great articles for how to build, open source, how to fine tune open source language models, how ChatGPT can help you with the writing. But the one that I stumbled upon this time was this great article by him, was how to train your coding LLMs with smaller data sets at a fraction of a price to get better results for developing code from large language models. One of the issues that companies have today is they got your base model, but they want to fine tune them to fit their particular scenario. That can be expensive. So there's an option out there, that a paper came out, according to Ben Dixon, recent Microsoft research paper describing what is called Wavecoder, which is a coding model that can help you fine tune for your coding scenarios at a fraction of a cost. What I want to highlight here is this is a great option, but there's a lot of companies that I've been getting, and more companies are asking me, like, Andreas, I need to fine tune for my specific scenario. What do I have to take into account? These are one of these types of options. Find a base model that fits your particular scenario and see if you can fine tune off of it at a fraction of a cost.
Excellent. Excellent. I love it. Good stuff. And once again, I love it how you bring new things to the table for me that you're talking about with customers, always very reticent to hear what this important stuff is that's kind of coming up. And I'm not going to lie, when I saw this next one, I was so intrigued. And of course, it's from the master of intrigue himself, the man in the hat, Mr. Josh Luedeman. Hack Together, the Microsoft Fabric Global AI Hack. Josh, what have we got going on? When is this and how do I get involved?
So this is running from February 15th to March 4th. And really the idea is to bring folks together and build stuff on Fabric, using AI, and really just trying to use any part of Fabric to, to kind of create new and innovative solutions. So using this, the how to participate is actually in the last paragraph. We have a great aka.ms link for you to go ahead and register. But it's going to go on again, February 15th to March 4th. Please, if you have great ideas, go ahead and jump in. If you just want to participate and look at some of the great ideas, definitely in the form, go ahead and fill out, again, that what you're interested in, and go ahead and connect in. For me personally, one of the best parts since of my career so far at Microsoft that I found that I never knew I was excited about were the internal hackathons we do. This is a hackathon going out publicly. Please take the opportunity, jump in. It's a great opportunity to meet people, similar views or similar background in technology. Doing cool and innovative solutions with data and AI.
Nice.
Excellent.
This is good. Yeah.
Very, very exciting stuff. No, go ahead, Neeraj.
No, I'm saying this is cool. It's something that we should definitely participate also. Looking forward for it. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. We've got to get some type of team together. Maybe I know 5 people who might be interested in working on this. And our good buddy Steve Wake says, Tales from the Field, looking forward to getting out of the frozen Denver in late March and seeing everyone in Vegas. We'll be there all week. The Fabric Community Conference is quickly becoming the place to go. Of course, Dan said, I need to find a way to Vegas. There are flights from Orlando. I can help you out with that.
I cannot. There's certain airlines don't ride. You may never make it there. Oh no, wait, that was New Orleans. Never mind.
That was New Orleans. We're going to Vegas. We'll be fine. Up next, of course, I'm talking to the one, the only, the amazing Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri, rediscovering your data's value by skilling up on Fabric. This has me intrigued, Neeraj. What have we got going on right now?
Just a follow up on Josh said, right? If you want to participate in hack, but if you want to skill up yourself, Lana just came up with a good articles. What she has up here is a couple of things. Like one is Microsoft Fabric Cloud Scale Challenge that is coming up. I just started off doing in mine. I have 30 days to complete, but I finished off first three exercise. If you do that, you have DP 600 right now in a private preview mode that you can give an exam, but the results are not going to be announced, or something that you can definitely look at it. She also mentions is community. There's a whole community that is out there, same as Microsoft Fabric Learning community on LinkedIn that my dad has started off. So something that should be interesting. And then a couple of learning paths, right? A couple of sites that you can go into it, start learning about Fabric, and definitely that is something that would help you out build your skill set on Fabric.
Yeah, I've got my certification try set up for early February, so we're going to see how that goes. I'm working on my skills challenge as well. So anyway, yeah, as Josh said, flights that don't make it to New Orleans is a good story. I was going to say you have to buy me a beverage in a pub or some other location that serves some type of good beer, and we'll have a libation and a conversation that'll probably last not as long as those flights did.
I was going to say that's a beverage story. It's a lengthy one, but it's a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah. But speaking of and trying to stay on how we better ourselves in this new year and some of the things that we've got for Microsoft Fabric, I was super excited to see Pragati Jain produce this blog, Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate Certification. This is about the new exam that is in beta mode. And what it does is she covers what we're going to do, what some of the things specifically are that we're going to be covering, some different study tips, and some ways to be able to prepare for this. This is actually something that I'm going to be going through myself, because one of the things I want to do is I want to understand how does it work? How does it go? And I'm very excited to read through some of these. This was a wonderful article to be able to take a look at. One thing to keep in mind, sometimes when people hear beta, they don't want to take the exam, but the beta exam is one of the easier places when they're figuring out kind of what they're looking for within the beta exam. And if you get the certification in beta, you have it for the full lifetime of the certification. So you can go ahead, and if you go over to the Microsoft site for this, you can sign up for the certification. It was pretty easy. I don't think I'm going to easily be able to clear out this room. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on my laptop in the bathroom taking my certification exam, because that's the only reason I can clear room I can clear out really easily. But anyway,
you're the only one that had to do that before in the bathroom. It's quite awkward, but yeah, I'm there with you. I get where you're going from.
Yeah, well, you got to remove all the stuff from the room. And like, I signed up and I'm looking around this. I'm like, I'm not pulling everything out of here. I don't know if they think that the Marvel paraphernalia is going to help me pass the certification exam, but it's not. Anyway, yeah. And Ginger says beta just means you have to wait to get the results. Whereas with a regular certification exam, you get it immediately after you've finished. So it's a good time to take it. Definitely worth doing.
We'll talk offline, Brad, but a clothes rack and a shower curtain can solve a lot of your problems with those tests.
Interesting. I did that to solve a problem with the photo on the Pragmatic Works website back in the day. Anyway, next up, of course, I have much better insight than how I take photos, and sometimes to be able to get away from unflattering screenshots. Of course, I'm talking about the insight from the mountain man of Dan Taylor, how database snapshots benefit the SQL Server DBA. Dan, talk to me here. What's the situation and what's the fix?
You know what? It had been a long time since I talked about snapshots, and I saw this article come up in my X feed, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go check that out. So Joe Gavin puts together a great article about database snapshots and how they can benefit the SQL Server DBA. Goes through what a snapshot is, the different types of snapshots, right? Crash consistent or application consistent, how snapshots can help DBAs. One of my favorite ones is recover from a database mistake, or point-in-time recovery, or I'm sorry, point-in-time reporting. We use that. The different types of snapshots, native SQL Server, and the one that was near and dear to my heart was where he briefly brings up array snapshots. I don't know if you remember, Brett, but the EMC that we had at our employer Publix, they would do snapshots for our DR, and they were crash consistent snapshots. Now, we still had the backups in case something went wrong, but there's different level of snapshots. Then he goes through the benefits of snapshots. But the cool thing about this article is Joe goes through two different native SQL Server snapshots. First, the old school way that we used to know with with SQL Server 2016 and above, where we could take a snapshot with T-SQL or through PowerShell, and we would have that snapshot available to us. But in SQL Server 2022, there is a new way to do T-SQL snapshot backups. I did not know this existed until I read this article for SQL Server 2022. So guess who's going out and trying this week with SQL Server 2022? And then Joe does
He's got two thumbs and the longest beard on this call.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I love when I find something that didn't exist, especially a new version of SQL Server. So totally excited. And then he does a nice wrap up of why snapshots should be adopted. A long, lengthy article to read, but a great article on why we as DBAs should implement snapshots. So thank you, Joe.
Very nice stuff. Very nice stuff.
Joe.
Speaking of very nice, Andreas, you always have a wonderful story going on with your different posts. And so I want to see how you wrap this up. Model for your specific needs beyond image net accuracy, a comparative analysis of convoluted neural networks and convolutional neural networks and vision transformation architectures. What do we got here, buddy? Oh, you are on mute. There we go. We got Neeraj and Andreas in mute in the same call. Josh is so happy. Yes. Oh, I see him. I see him celebrating. Bless his
One day
heart
we'll
over
get the trifecta, though. One day we'll be able to get all three of us on it. Till that day comes, that you need. I think you need a PhD to read the title in there. But it's a great article. It's a deep article by Dhanshri Shripad, and it points to an area that I'm very passionate about, which is vision AI. Now, I've been working with a company right now, and that is leveraging YOLO models. And one of the bottlenecks they're having is what YOLO model for their vision AI scenario should they pick? Because they're not getting the performance that they want out of it. Neeraj and I actually put out a great mind map for you guys, aka.ms/MLS MLEdge-MM. In that mind map, we detail all the pros and cons of the YOLO models that you want to take into account if you're using a YOLO model for your vision AI scenarios. This article, bringing that back around, what I want you to gather from this article is that it's a deep article. It's very technical. But what I want you to gather is that it's not all about precision in classification. There's several factors that work into your model and your model precision and other factors that matter. Camera position, lightness matters. All that lighting, camera position, and many other factors feed into the model, and your model can give you better results or not better results. And there's models built differently for certain scenarios. What she goes into in this article is she showcases 3 of the top models that are out there. They did a comparative analysis, and they explain why certain models are better than others in typical scenarios. There's no one model for vision AI scenarios that beats it. There's no silver bullet. You have to take all the factors at hand in order to get best precision.
Very nice stuff. Thank you. I love it how you always put it together. You put a nice little bow on there and you wrap it up for us. Beautiful stuff. And speaking of beautiful, of course, I have the best for last. The man in the hat himself, Mr. Josh Luedeman, bring it home with common data mesh expectations.
And so following in your lead, Brad,
the best. I am just mispronouncing left and right. Exceptions, not expectations. And since you are the exception to the rule, Mr. Josh Luedeman,
I was gonna let you go on the exceptions, and all that, but
maybe we just need to have a tale of 2 data meshes. It was the best of data. It was the worst of data.
Oh, that sounds like a fun video or article right there. No. So as you lead so gallantly in front of us with saving the best for last, I did the same here. So James Serra, I've shared, I think, an article of his or 2 over the last year and a half. We've been doing roundtables, and James is a great person to listen to hear from about data architectures and architectural guidance in the data space, especially Microsoft data space. And what he goes through here is really just accepting the fact that, like a lot of architecture patterns, it's really hard to find one that's 100% authentic to the gold standard of what it's supposed to be. And he points out some of, in data mesh, some of the exceptions that are allowed that he's seen and frankly agrees with that he's seen in customer architectures and things over the years. So it's a great article to sanity check yourself. I mean, there's been plenty of times when I've second guessed the hell out of myself working with a customer where I go, I really am looking at this architecture, but I know I'm going to veer a little bit away from the gold standard of it. And am I crazy for this? And Steve Wake hits it right on the head. And in fact, I was just waiting, and Andre stole my thunder, and I blame him completely because I had this banner lined up for this article. There is no silver bullet in technology. Architecture is exactly the same. Yes, Ginger's right. James Sarah all the way, but great article to review, to sanity check yourself when you think I'm making an exception and this is this the right way to go? He's, as far as I'm concerned, when I sanity check my own architectures, James is where I look.
Excellent. Nice stuff. All right. Well, it is time for us to wrap things up. And there's a couple things that, of course, that I want to make sure that you keep in mind. And again, we talked about it at the top of the show, and I'm going to direct you to Tuesday, the 30th of January. You're not going to want to miss our Fabric Roundup. That's going to be really important. We're going to have some great demos from the product group. We're going to have some great participation from the Fabric product group, and we will wrap up those announcements that came out in September. And most importantly of all, we have time for your questions and your answers. And we love it when you come and you have those questions. It's a great way for us to be able to participate with you, but make sure that you keep moving forward and you get those questions answered. Also, keep in mind, in February, Data Toboggan is coming up. We've got our fingers crossed. There's a online Fabric conference as well that you want to keep your eyes out for. And then we also have in March, it's going to be the big date, SQL Bits. I'm going to be out there at SQL Bits. Mark Pricemeyer and myself are going to be doing a pre-con for SQL Bits on getting certified, and you get a 50% off discount for that certification exam for Microsoft Fabric if you come and attend the pre-con. And the same thing's going to happen in Las Vegas when we do this same pre-con the following week. But this time it's available to all those folks that want to be able to make it in person over in Las Vegas. And we are so looking forward to seeing you. As you saw, some wonderful presenters were on the chat stream today. Ginger Grant, Steve Wake, they're going to be out there in Vegas for the Fabric Conference. Can't wait to see them, but I also can't wait to see you out there. Gentlemen, anything else that we want? I mean, I didn't even get to SQL Saturdays in April and in May, but we've got some time.
The only thing I was going to do was the reminder of the ticker at the bottom. Please, if you have content you want us to see or consider featuring on the roundtable, please tag us on Twitter, one of us, or the Tails FT Field Twitter account. Also, same thing for any questions for the PG roundtables for Fabric. Tag the Twitter account or go over to the video. The link for the live stream is already there. Drop your questions in chat when you think of them. Go over there to the video and just drop them in there. But please get involved. We don't want to be the only ones asking questions. I mean, we know there's more than what we know out there as far as questions. So please bring them.
Yeah, again, we love the participation. We're seeing a lot of it, and we can't wait to see a little bit more. Also, hit us up anyway. LinkedIn, we're also on Blue Sky, and we are also on Threads. We are out of time. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.